Welcome in, Technique Academy members. Yes, another call, another class, a lot more to learn. Today, the main topic that we're going to go into is the seasonal format. Yes, end of season tournament is coming up soon. It's going to be the new Riot format. I'm going to pull it up now. We're going to start with the announcement message right here. Seasonal tournament announcement FAQ. So we're going to run down the seasonal tournament, how it works. We'll get over that, and then we'll get into some deck building after assessing the meta. First off, what are seasonal tournaments? Seasonal tournaments are the apex of competition in Legends of Runeterra, exclusively for the best of the best and supported fully in-game. This is great in-game, going to be awesome. If you have been playing any of the gauntlets recently, they've been good examples of what the seasonal format. The most recent one specifically, it was four matches, best of three with one ban. I got 4 wins on mine to get the Prime Glory, and I am going to get into the list later, what I played and what I was thinking, but the format's great. I think it's really good, and it's in client too, and the banning is done in client, so pretty strong. How often will there be a tournament? There will be a seasonal tournament at the end of each season. Makes sense, right? So roughly every 2 months. How many players can compete in each tournament? 1024 qualifying players. Portion of them, 700 top ranked players. Currently, I think there's like 750-ish players in Masters, at least on the NA side right now. So that means if you have a few hundred LP or a couple hundred LP, then you should be locked in for the top 700 ranked players. If not, there's going to be a last chance qualifier. 324 more players can qualify by being the first to achieve 7 wins on their first attempt in the high-stakes last chance gauntlet, which takes into account your performance in previous gauntlets throughout the season. The last chance gauntlet will take place shortly after the end of the ranked season. So they'll end the season, then there'll be the last chance gauntlet one day. You can earn Prime Glories to get free wins into that tournament. I expect a lot of people will have 3 or 4 Prime Glories. So you would only need to win 3 or 4 matches. Get 7 wins on your first attempt at a weekly gauntlet to achieve a Prime Glory, as we talked about earlier. Each Prime Glory you earn throughout the season, up to 5, counts as an automatic win in the last chance gauntlet. So it caps out at 5. If you do manage to get 5 Prime Glories, currently I think I have 2 on one account and I have 1 on the other account, on my EU account. It counts as an automatic win in the last chance gauntlet. Be one of the first to complete the last chance gauntlet with 7 wins to earn that final Prime Glory and qualify for the tournament. The more Prime Glories you have, the more likely it is that you'll be one of the first 324 players. Tournament structure is 2 days, 5 rounds of Swiss. The first day kicks off with 5 Swiss rounds of best of 3 matches to determine the top 32. These finalists advance to the second stage of the tournament a week later to compete in single elimination bracket. The victor will be crowned season champion and win the grand prize. The grand prize is $10,000. So, first tournament will take place in 2 months at the end of Mountains of Power season. The competition takes place over 2 days with 1024 players competing on December 6th and 32 finalists competing on December 13th. Yeah. So if you have 1024, we could pull this up, Swiss calculator. So they're going to cut the top 32. So let's take a look. It should be an even split. I looked this up before, but just to show you, 1024, 5 rounds, cut to 32. Who will make it? 5-0. You have to 5-0 to make the top 32. So they say it's Swiss, but if you lose, you don't win anything, and you have nothing. So I don't know. Maybe they could have added a round, but then there would have been tiebreakers or something. Let's see what that would have looked like as well if you had 1024 with 6 rounds, top cut 32. 16 of there's gonna be a lot of ties if you add another round. So it's a clean break. It's basically single elimination tournament because the single elimination rounds, the bracket, the 32 player bracket, starts the week later, and that bracket is actually gonna be single elimination. where this is going to be 5 rounds of Swiss. So yeah, you can play the rounds for experience. I do recommend that. Even if you do lose the round, you should still play for experience, because these tournaments are going to be every 2 months. So, you try and play as many games as possible, and that way you can, maybe get used to it. You can learn something, and then also I do encourage anybody in the academy who's playing in this tournament to also try and record as much information as possible to share with the group. We can learn from each other. Victor will be crowned. Yeah, when will the first tournament take place? First tournament will take place in 2 months. December 6th. Mark your calendars. December 6th is the first day. On day 1, players will compete in best of 3 matches using a combination of rules. For seasonal tournament 2020, the following rules will be in effect. Players bring 3 different decks with no duplicated champions, no duplicated region combination, and no more than 1 deck without any champions at all. So, you have to play decks with champions. You could play 1 deck with no champion. No duplicated region combination. No duplicated champions. So you could run the same cards over and over again. You could have 3 Harrowing decks if you really want. You could play Ash, Zombie Ash. You could play Fearsomes, right? And then you could play a whole nother Harrowing deck if you want. If Harrowing's like one of the better cards in the format, you could have 3 decks that do that. 40 cards to a deck from up to 2 regions, up to 3 copies of any individual card, and up to 6 champions total. That's normal deck building restrictions. Players ban one of their opponent's decks before the match begins. Players cannot use a deck again after winning a game with it. So conquest format. Each tournament round lasts for 75 minutes maximum, which includes the following. Game 1, 5-minute preparation phase. 1-minute ban phase. So I don't know what they mean by preparation phase here. 1-minute pick phase. 1-minute preparation phase. They had a shorter preparation phase and the gauntlet. I think it was like 30 seconds. We're also working on a chess clock style system that will keep things moving, and hope to implement that in time for the Monuments of Power tournament. We'll share more details. So they might have a chess clock, which I think is a good thing. How does matchmaking work for the first day? Players will initially be matched based off their season rank. After that, the Swiss style rounds will match players based on their current scores. So if you're higher rank on the season, then I guess you get paired against somebody with lower rank. For those doing the math, a single loss effectively means you're out of contention for the second stage of the tournament. However, you can continue competing to earn an exclusive card back, only available to those who get 3 wins. Okay. What happens if qualifying players decline to participate? Could I take their place? Yes, we'll have a per shard wait list for players that miss the cut, comprised of master rank players and additional players who earn the prime glory in the last chance gauntlet. More details to come. If you're on the wait list, you'll sign in at the start of the tournament, just like the qualifying players. If a player drops out and you're next on the list, your lobby will update accordingly and you'll be in the tournament. Okay, how is the bracket determined on the second day? Bracket will be standard seeding system, where the highest seed plays the first day. Highest seed players from the first day are placed into a matchup, which are then filled by the lowest seed. Yep. To qualify for this stage of seasonal tournaments, will need to validate their country of residence in order to participate. Make sure to check your email if you make it to the top 32. What's the grand prize? Are there other prizes for participation? The grand prize for winning is $10K. Smaller cash prizes to the rest of 32 has not been released yet. We're still working on some of the intricacies of cash prizing, and we'll be back with final details for all regions in a run-up to the seasonal tournament. All competitors will have a chance to earn an exclusive card back by reaching 3 wins. Use different decks on day 1 and day 2. Players will submit their 3 decks during sign-in for each of the 2 stages of the tournament. So it will be possible for the final 32 to use different decks than they did on day 1. That is very important. And that is something that I didn't know until I read this. So what this is going to mean for us is making it to the final 32, you're going to be playing against better players, I think. The top of the bracket, 32 players, yeah. Where the other 10, 24 could be anything. So maybe gearing your decks to be better against aggressive decks, potentially more solid decks to make it through the 5-0, and then you can have the spice for the final 32. You know, you don't have to target specific decks in the meta. You just want maybe your most powerful decks to going in, and then you can attack the meta decks for the second day. How can I watch the tournaments? Our plan is to broadcast the entire second day of the tournaments on various channels to the entire Legends of Runeterra community. We'll update you when we have more details on where you can go to watch. Will seasonal tournaments be a path to pro? How do tournaments connect to esports? We want tournaments to be one path to going pro and have more plans to support those taking that path. It's still a bit too soon to talk about, so stay tuned for more in the future. World Championship win. We're working on some competitions that are even bigger than seasonal tournaments, but nothing to share just yet. Participating tournaments on multiple shards at the same time. What about using a VPN to participate on another shard? Both of these are definitely not. The goal of seasonal tournaments is for players to compete on their shard within their country of residence. In order to preserve the integrity of per shard tournaments, we will disqualify anyone found to be using a VPN or otherwise competing in a shard outside their country of residence. That includes any players who manage to qualify for multiple tournaments. We'll ask you to decline for any shards that do not include your country of residence. Sorry, but we're taking a hard line on this one. Can riders participate in seasonal tournaments? No, riders will participate in a seasonal tournament, and if there's a mistake, we'll correct it. That means if a rider would qualify by being one of the top 700 ranked players, they will drop out of the tournament and leave their spot open for a player on the wait list. Will tournament mode be available for custom tournaments? For now, we're focused squarely on preparation for this tournament. Okay. Custom tournaments. Yeah, okay. So that's pretty much all the information we need to know about the format. So we want to really focus on, you know, attacking the meta. So we have, a week and a half, 2 weeks. As of this recording, it is November 19th. So it looks like 2 weeks until that tournament. So the meta will change significantly. I don't think we have another patch coming before that event. So we should analyze the meta now. And we'll keep up on the meta in future Academy calls. This is important. Right now, the way that I look at meta, if I want to get raw data, I'll go to Mobalytics. This might be a pro feature, but if you go to meta stats, say we want to look at masters, because only masters are going to be relevant. It's going to be these players playing in masters that are going to be playing in that tournament. Yeah, there will be some wild last chance gauntlet people that do qualify, but you know, this is going to be a good indicator of what most people are going to play. So if you look at it from archetypes, and we want to sort it by win rate, so I got the highest win rates at the top. One thing to note here is these decks are very similar, and they have high win rates. Draven Darius behind it. Interesting. Draven Darius here. What is this? Pale Cascade, Solari Soldier, Mountain Goat, Crescent Guardian. I guess this deck is now meta. I saw some streamers playing against this deck, Decisive Maneuver deck. Decisive Maneuver is pretty strong with, how many games do they have? Wow, 1,600 matches? That's all ranks, though. Let's do Masters. The win rates definitely went down in Masters. You see win rate overall 57, Masters 52. If you're trying to hit Masters, this is also a good way to do it, is if you just find out what people are playing in Diamond. It's a really useful tool for analyzing what to expect in the meta, the play rates. So if we go back to archetypes and say you're in Diamond trying to hit Master, you can do Diamond, archetypes, you could sort by play rate. Draven Ezreal is really popular. We could do, can we do it by play rate? Yeah, matches right here, number of matches. Number of matches recorded, yeah. So this is probably one of the most played decks, Nox Ezreal. You want to make sure you know how to play against this deck. Tom Soraka, right behind it, discard aggro. All neck and neck. And then you have this BWSI, Go Hard. One problem with this website I do want to show you is that these two archetypes you could probably lump together. Like, what's the difference between this deck It's Go Hard, Elise, Twist of Fate, one Gangplank. BWSI. What does BW mean? Bottled Water Shadow Isles. Go Hard. Okay. Weird. Okay, so you see this deck. Doom Beast, 2 Ruination, 2 Vengeance, 2 Crumble. This is one of the more popular lists. 1 Gangplank. Nothing really crazy here. Zap, 1 Chronicler. I've been trying a list very similar to that recently. Then there's also, Elise Twist of Fate. So then you pull this up. Well, what's different here? Still Go Hard, still Glimpse. Got a single Black Spear. A Crumble. No Ruination in this deck. More units. Petty Officer. Gives you more kegs, right? So, it's here. It's the same deck, if you think about it. The removal is different, though. The one with the Gangplank, you see it with the Ruination or whatever. But the range on that deck is, the flex spots can be filled any old kind of way. But the point that I'm trying to get to is that these 2 decks need to be compiled together. And they're not. And look at this. Ash Sejuani. Mid-range Frostbite. Ash Sejuani. What's the difference in these 2 lists? Reckoning. Ash Sejuani. Okay, looks right. Flash Freeze. And then what's the difference with this? Ash Sejuani. There's Reckoning, Harsh Winds, Flash Freeze, Cullen Strike. Same deck, 1 less Sejuani. Pretty much. Not that crazy. Triple Battlebeard. So, looking to go a little deeper than most decks, but same deck. So they don't have the win rates put together, basically. So you can math that out. So really, this is like add 900 to this. It's 2,100 matches. And then if you look at the this Go Hard deck, it's almost 1,500, and this is 800. So it's 2,300. So they need to combine those. They really do. To make it easier for data consumption. I don't know if the other websites like Dex of Runeterra has any kind of meta stats. I don't think they do, but let's go. Metagame, no archetype found. What does that even mean? Oh. Here we go. Weiheimer control, that's just not even a thing. Yeah, so this isn't very indicative of the meta right here at all. We'll skip that. So we're going to work with the best that we got here, basically. And so if you want to look at it like this, the number of matches, this is what's most popular. So I think maybe for day 1, we probably want to focus on being good against what has the most matches. Which isn't the best, because some people play more games than other people. But, it's the best we can do with the stats we got. So looking at it now, it's like, okay, we got to be able to beat Nox, Ezreal. And again, we'll reassess this whenever it gets closer to the tournament time. But I just want to work you through the process of how you should be looking at approaching this format. Teach you how to fish. So if you miss the call later, you know how to fish by yourself. I've come up with a lot, and me, along with collaboration from my team as well, have come up with a lot of, really sick tournament lineups where, like the R2's an Invitational. That was just, I had like the best lineup in the tournament. Like people would play me and be like, "Oh my gosh, what is this lineup?" And that's the thing is we want to replicate that. We want to have like the lineup. So we need to be able to beat Ezreal Swain. We need to be able to beat Tom Raka. We need to be able to beat Discard Aggro. So this is like a split, because you have this one aggro deck in here, and then Go Hard because of play rate, right? And then Ash Sejuani. So these are all like top of the meta. So honestly, I think a deck like, the Go Hard deck is probably going to be good against Ash Sejuani, if I were to guess. Zombie Ash. See, Zombie Ash to me is like a great tournament deck. It doesn't do the best against Discard Aggro. I think it's fine against Tom Soraka. And this deck, this Ezreal deck, it'd probably be fine against as well, with the right tools. But it really plays on this deck. So I'm probably going to want to test that. So if you can find a deck that does well against most of these decks, and maybe even on a couple, or slightly unfavored, then that's the first place to look. So we want to like find a deck that does that, because we're going to want that in the lineup. We're going to want 2 decks in the lineup that can do that. It's kind of a tall order because this is a pretty diverse meta right here. Moving on down, games played. There's a decent number of deep games played. A little bit of Pirate Aggro. Fjord Shen. Is Fjord Shen up here too? No. Yeah, so it looks like Ash Sejuani is just getting more popular. I mean, this is over 2,000 matches here. It's just current patch though, so maybe we can even look. They got a little feature here. I think you have to pay for the plus for this, but it's you know, something we can do in the academy. Let's just look at the last 3 days. If we wanted to do it by the last 3 days, games played, matches played, discard aggro most popular. So if we're looking at ladder, this is a good tool for that as well. Go Hard right behind it. Nox Ezreal right behind it. At least Twisted Fate. This is the same deck as this deck. Very popular. Tom Raka, Deep Monsters, K-Pop Yetis. It's an interesting deck name. Pretty good win rate. This is in Diamond though. But we need to be looking at Masters, actually. Well, I didn't realize we had the wrong filter on there. So let's look at Masters. Last 3 days. Number 1, the Go Hard deck. Most number of matches. By a decent amount, because there's also Elise Twisted Fate down here. So 142 plus 325, that's 467. It's almost 500 matches. That's way more than discard aggro. This win rate is 53%. This one's less, and I think the Gangplank version is actually better, which is what's represented here. Gangplank's real important for this deck, I think. As a barrel maker and then a finisher as well. Deck needs to finish. Anivia, you don't see a high win rate here, but there are a lot of matches being played with Anivia. I played Anivia a bunch on the ladder yesterday. It doesn't say whose deck this is. This is the best list, popular list. See, this is like, what, a lot of matches played. No telling the time frame on that, though. But the best list, 68 matches played, is this one. And I like that Catalyst in this list. I wasn't playing Catalyst in mine. But this deck has been really good for me on ladder. And I think that it would also just be good. It would just be good in this tournament as well. Like Ruination's great. It's great against mid-range decks. You got Vengeance and Ruination, both 3 ofs. That's some hard removal for mid-range decks. Against aggro, you do have Avalanche, Vaal Feast, Kindly Tavern Keeper, Avarosian Sentry. And, you know, you can Catalyst up. Maybe get that Anivia down earlier. I think you definitely want to play Catalyst in this deck. This is a list with no Catalyst. You see there's Grasp, no Whale. Right here there's Grasp and Whale. So I guess it's kind of a matter of opinion here. The Catalyst gains you 3. There's a lot of matches, especially mid-range matches, where the Whale, the damage from the Whale just doesn't really interact with your opponent really that well at all. We can reflect that back, but we're getting lost in the deck here. But yeah, so Anivia's been popular in the last few days. So I think Anivia is going to be good. And so these are the type of decks that we need to beat. You see Heimer Vi is picking up popularity. This deck, big proponents from EU. And you can see the swap here too. If you look, if you want to focus it down even harder, like Americas, like, so I know some of y'all are EU, but if we just look at Americas, like the win rates here, Draven Jinx is just doing well in America. 69 matches, nice. Hyper, Aggro, Endure. This is the last 3 days. I feel like more than this number of matches was played with these decks, honestly. Hyper, Aggro, Endure. What does it even look like? Oh, it's just Callista. Okay. With Wraithcaller. Checks out. Okay. Yeah, okay, so Endure is good. I think Endure is good just because, yeah, some of these decks are going to have trouble with They Who Endure. I've been playing a little bit of Endure on the stream too. But if we look at it like this, it's like you have the matches. It doesn't really go down any further. You have to have at least 50 matches, I think, to make it on the board. So, yeah, there are other decks. But at least Twisted Fate, this is the most popular deck. 58, 135. So we want to find this deck's weaknesses. This deck is weak to ramp. I think Anivia Control is good against this deck. We can look at it over here as well, matchups. Now, Again, they have the things multiplied out. So what you'll see is that the balance between the two is not that good. This is how we're going to discern this information. So worst matchups here. Ramp, ramp, Trundle, Tryndamere, ramp. This deck took a hit. That's why you're seeing such a from the ramp just getting hit. That's why you're seeing such a surge in the go hard decks. Heckram Elise. Don't even know what that is. 63 matches. Let's see. Can we filter by masters or no? They won't let us. The data is not that quick. We'll just do all ranks. Which I don't think is a fair representation of this deck. Because this deck is hard to play. The Go Hard deck. It's not the hardest to play. It's not like Casino hard to play. But it is a hard deck to play. So, if you spread it out against all player levels, this deck can lose more than what's expected, I think. Because it is a hard deck to play. Ash Sejuani, that's kind of tough. It looks like it's kind of tough here. Reckoning is a good card against it, I thought. But I've been winning the matchup, actually. So, yeah, it is favorable right here. 64%. You see this twice. You know, that's 64% over, 300 matches. That's pretty significant. Braum and Nivea, favorable win right there. Over here, unfavorable against Just a Nivea. The Just a Nivea list. The Just a Nivea list is probably better than the Braum because you have access to Entreat to always have a Nivea, and a Nivea is great in the match. So, that's good. Another one is Turbo Deep is good against it. Because the deep monsters are just big. Big against Go Hard. So Deep is like going to be good against Go Hard. Also, you can Maokai remove their deck, which is pretty strong against a deck that tries to draw cards. A lot of their cards say draw cards. If you do level at Maokai, then it's good. What else? I mean, this is a little closer to even, though. If you look at it, 47%, this is Turbo Deep. But that's still over 700 matches. Slightly unfavorable. Lee Zed, slightly unfavorable, which is my experience in that matchup as well. It's slightly unfavorable, but very winnable. And what else is there? Fearsome. The deck doesn't block Fearsome units that well. Another reason why Gangplank is so good. So not surprised to see Endure could be a problem for the deck. Because, like, if you can't close fast, then that's a problem. Vlad Heckram. And Nivea. These Harrowing decks. See, Harrowing is one of the better ways to beat the deck. Because it really means that they have to either have Ruination or Pack Your Bags ready for that turn. Which they might not have available. So, if you're, and that's could be the win rate too. If you know that a deck has Harrowing in it, like this Vlad Heckram deck or this Anivia deck, then you really want to set up for, like, you need to sandbag a Twisted Fate against this Anivia deck. You can do Pack Your Bags, kill all the Anivias that came back, and then you could red card as well to clear out the eggs and make them have another Harrowing. Teemo. This is another deck I like to try, is the Teemo Sejuani deck. Now, there's Field of Rush. Field of Rush might be good in that deck. You get an Overwhelmer and an Elusive. That can hurt somebody's feelings. What is this? Target Fearsomes. Yeah, Weak the Fearsome. I think Fearsome's like just Fearsome keyword ability. You see this? The Fearsome is good because it doesn't block the Fearsome well. The deck just doesn't block the Fearsome well. And also, Ken Soraka is also tough too. That matchup's also tough. You see it here represented 40%. You can beat it, but boy is it hard. Because a lot of your removal is damage based. So getting through a Star Spring is tough. You do have access to Crumble. So if we're going to attack that deck, we want to play one of these decks. Okay? So we can put that on the notepad right now. Notepad. Get it going. Okay. Best decks versus Go Hard. So we're going to put that in our notepad here. Best decks versus Go Hard. Ramp. We can just put generically Ramp. Trundle Asol. Ramp's good. Tom Rocca. Right? Fearsomes. Harrowing, maybe. What else? This is a mirror match, so I don't know why they have different percentages on the mirror. I guess this is the different version that plays more Elise. And I find that Elise is really good in the mirror. A lot better than Gangplank. Because, again, it has Fearsome, which is just difficult to interact with. Because you don't have a lot of 3-power units. And, you know, there could be deck building changes that could make that a little better. Obviously, Jagged Butcher's good. Doom Beast's good. Maybe play Petty Officer. This list is even better because Petty Officer does help a lot in the Fearsome. And we can look at that and see what the difference is between this as well, and as far as matchups go. So we're looking at it. Maybe that's why they have it in 2 separate lists, potentially. So, what is that? TF Swain? Yeah, see, I don't think this is right here, because I haven't been having any trouble with TF Swain versus the TF Swain deck. Honestly, with the Go Hard. The Go Hard is just so good. And, yeah, Nivea. Maybe Control. These are all good decks that are against it. And, you know, if you have any more, you know, put them in the chat. If you're watching this video, put them in the academy. Pass the information along. If your experience is like that. Maybe this deck. The Zed Lee Sin. Yeah, Zed Lee Sin. So, yeah, I'd probably say those are like the top decks against this. So then what we'll do next is we'll look at overview decks. All stats, meta, archetypes, master, last 3 days, right? And then the next thing we'll do is last 3 days, master. I don't know, I guess we'll do Americas, see what's popular here. You have this Anivia deck next. You have Jinx Draven. All right, let's do that one, Jinx Draven, because that's kind of very popular. We'll take a look at this deck. This is a pretty standard list, nothing too crazy. They do have the Mystic Shots. This one plays less, plays more Brothers Bond, which makes it more aggressive. This does give it a little bit more reach. You know, the 3 and 2 split on crowd favorite and experimenter. Yeah, this is pretty standard stuff here. So if you look over here, matchups, okay, it's going to be all ranks. Again, take that with a grain of salt. We want to find decks that are good against it. You see this Trinimir Trundle. So, best decks versus discard aggro. So we'll do that here. It's yeah, Ramp. Go Hard. What else? Anivia. Go Hard again, Ramp again. Draven is. Spooky Karma. Spooky Karma might not be a bad pick as well. Why don't we just do Nox as? Because it seems that the stats also bear out for the Swain version as well. Obviously, Draven's going to be a little better against aggro. Because Draven comes down early. Yeah, so Nox says, and then Spooky Karma. Okay. So then we'll find out what the next deck is. Go back to all stats. And we want to take the top 5 decks Do Masters, we'll do Americas, and then we'll do last 3 days. And this could also be a good tool for finding out what you want to play on the ladder. The next is Anivia. Now, I think people might be getting on the Anivia deck, but probably not too much. The play rate here, where we got 105 matches in the last day, a couple days. I've got to be at least 20 of these matches in the last 3 days. Discard aggro. Draven Jinx. These are like one and the same, honestly. So 150 matches. Endure. Nox Ezreal. Nox Ezreal win rate going down big time. So Swain and Nox Ezreal. We'll do that next. Nox Ezreal. Best decks versus Nox Ezreal. So we're gonna do that here. We'll go to matchups. All ranks. I don't know what this is. Champless. I bet you this is what's the card that comes back? The Undying. Whoa, did my internet blink out here? What's going on? That's just not working, is it? Let's just refresh. Nox Ezreal, where you at? Nox Ezreal. And honestly, you can do all ranks and worldwide here for the matchups, because that doesn't matter as far as it's not that we're looking for the stat we're looking for is matchups. We're not looking for popularity in a particular region. Best matchups, Karma Ezreal. Huh. Interesting. Draven Teemo. Whatever that is. Swain Yasuo. Yeah, I'll believe it. Spooky Karma. Does well against Spooky Karma, huh? It's pretty good. And it's possible we want to do best and worst matchups. This deck looks like it has a good Soraka Braum. That's not Soraka Tom. It's different. Pretty different. Okay, worst matchups here. Anivia. Let's start it out though. Looks like Endure. Which makes sense because they can't interact with They Who Endure. So let's just put Endure here. Spell Endure wrong. Ramp. I'm thinking Ramp just might be good. These stats though, they're like probably include the Trundle-Tryndamere matches pre-nerf, potentially. But I think inherently the ramp deck should do well against this deck, the Nox Ezreal deck, honestly. Next up, Callista. Oh, what does this deck even look like? Hold up, before. I want to just see what this deck looks like. Yeah, Tavern Keeper, Weird Stones, Ladros, Boffies, Flash Freeze, Avalanche, Catalyst, Whale, Atrocity, Harsh Winds, Roar, Vengeance, Ruination, Feel the Rush, just playing the same deck as before. So what we're seeing is this different. This one's got Hapless in it. This one, and they both Feel the Rush decks. Very similar. Okay, so we'll use that. Ramp, Endure, Fearsome. This is Fearsome, isn't it? Oh, this got Bob's War. What is this? What is this deck? Is there a deck list? Oh, this Callista Shadow Isles. That's not what we're looking for. Let's keeps going to that. It would make sense that They Who Endure would be good against them, which I think this is targeting Fearsomes. So why don't we just say regular Fearsomes? Fearsomes are just good against this. Because like Wraithcaller, it requires 2 removal spells. Fearsomes. Fearsome's good. Also like the card, the Harrowing, has always been pretty good against a deck with no sweeper. and a slower clock. So, not surprised here. You have Endure, also doing Endure things. Callista, this is Troll Chant, Ruination, Harrowing. What is this? Only 53 matches, low win rate. This is a whole different deck. But the point here being is this is probably Wraithcaller and Mistwraiths and Harrowing just doing all the work in the matchup, I would imagine. So, yeah, looking at it like that, it's probably a good place to be. 40 percentile. Yeah, Fearsomes, Anivia. You notice all these cards have Harrowing or Field of Rush. Some over-the-top spell really gives this deck problems. Probably a good place to be, too. Alright, next deck up. I want to do the Soraka Tom deck. Archetypes. Last 3 decks, all ranks. Let's do Masters. And then we cut it down to Americas too, because that's what we're looking at. Discard aggro, Draven Jinx, Hyper aggro, and Door. So we don't see any Soraka Tom. So we'll do worldwide and see if we can pull that up. Decisive Target. That's that aggro Target deck that might be good. It's got a good win rate here. 159. Pretty strong deck. Please Twist of Fate. Well, I don't think it's up there in the numbers of play though, because this is a worldwide 159. I guess it is. In the last 3 days, it's become more popular. The monsters. Alex Ezreal, Tom Raka. Win rate way down. And there's no other percent here. The win rate has gone down significantly for this deck, I think, and people are playing it less because Fearsomes has become a real thing and might be one of the better decks in the meta. But here's the thing, is you can ban Fearsomes. Not in their entirety, because there's a couple different Fearsome decks. Tom Raka worst matchup? At least Spider aggro. Yeah, no doubt about that. Fearsome aggro. Best. Best and worst matchup. So having a worse matchup here, it could go into a ban lineup, but we should still focus on it as well. Best decks versus Tom Raka. Take a look at the matchups. We'll do worst matchups, Fearsome. Fearsome. Ash, Nox. Ash Sedge. Okay. More Fearsome, more Fearsome. Fearsome, 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 Fearsome. I don't know what this is. Shyvana Fiora? What is this even? 1,000 matches. Shyvana. Let's see if we can look at it in the last 3 days. Last 7 days. The win rate here, 55%. A Soul Shyvana. This is different. This Dragons. You see this Lieutenant. I feel like the Lieutenant really wants to have something else behind it. This deck is one that I want to work on at some point. Let's see what's up with this deck. That's not good against Draven Teemo. Whatever that means. Yeah, its best matchups are TF Ezreal. Is that even a thing? Anivia, Sedge Gangplank. This deck caught some heavy nerfs. Yordle Grifter, and what else is it good against? Spooky Karma, Shocker. I don't think the Spooky Karma is that good of a deck, honestly. TF Swain. The Go Hard deck. See, this deck looks like a good one against the Go Hard deck, and I could totally see that because it puts the pressure on them. So maybe we should put that here. Because the deck's got like heals and all kinds of stuff. Shiv mid-range, whatever that means. We'll put that on the list here. Looks to have a good matchup. Judgment, Concerted Strike, Single Combat. This Judgment's nasty because you can Judgment the Fiora. Also, Sharp Sight is nice as well. You don't want to block elusives, but then also just a cheap trick. And then you get these dragons that come out early. And they're pretty hard to remove. Firebrand and Screeching Dragon. Like a Go Hard could get you. Could get this deck. But it turns it up pretty quick. So it has to be found very soon. And the units all grow. Because if you look at the Fury, Shyvana leveled up as Fury. It makes it hard to have do combat and then like if your unit wins combat, which is pretty common. Yeah, obviously there's Sharp Sight and Pale Cascade. So your units are generally gonna win combat, and when they do, that's huge. Because when they do win the combat, they're not stranded with 1 HP. So it's gonna involve more kegs and whatnot from the opponent, basically, to actually remove the units. They're stickier, pretty much. And if you look at this list, similar. Fury. This one obviously just scales a lot higher. You know, you give up the Fiora, you still got Sharp Sight and Single Combat and Concerted Strike. No Pale Cascade though. But the other spells are here. Star Shape instead of Judgment, right? So, different deal. Although Judgment I think is probably fine. Maybe even as a one of. Couldn't be that bad. Good against Fearsomes, good against Harrowing. Judgment is a good card against Harrowing as well. Real good. You know, you just block and kill their whole board. It's also good against Fearsomes. This deck might be one to look out for, honestly. Could be a meta contender. You know, if Fearsomes is on top right now. Also against Tom Rocca. Where are we at on that? Okay, right here. So Fearsomes, it says that this deck has it. So let's put it here. Shiv mid-range. And I believe it. Because with the Invoke, you have access to remove the obliterate the Star Spring. Pretty good. What is this? Draven Jinx? No, let's just do Noxez. Noxez and discard aggro. Discard aggro swarms the deck really hard. Already said Ash Sedge. Chevet Soul. What else here? What is this? Hecarim, Elise. Just Shadow Isle stuff. Swain Ezreal. Yeah, Nox Ezreal. I don't know what this Darius Trundle deck is. Interesting. What is this? Darius Draven. I'm just gonna take a quick look at this, see what this is. Trundle Darius. Battle Fury, Troll Champ, Brothers Bond, Elixir. Same spells up here. Battle Fury Trundle deck. Saboteur, House Spider, Demolitionist, Grenader, Ruthless Raider, just very aggressive here. Iron Ballista, Alpha Wildclaw, Ancient Yeti, all the Overwhelm units. Overwhelm all the way up to here. With Trundle Darius, with all the tricks. Troll Champ, Brothers Bond. Decent number of matches, high win rate. Interesting. Trundle Darius. Trundle's over here, what, 2 of? Not even that many. Just a solid 5-drop, I guess. Yeah. You could also Battle Fury it's just a bunch of Battle Furies. And I've been having success with Battle Fury lately, too. Because there's not, like, a lot of hushes and things like that. Interesting deck right there. Yeah, so that's the Tom Rocca. See how many decks we got right here covered. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's go back and see if we can see more. Archetypes, this is where we want to be. Last 3 days, Americas, Masters, Hyper, Aggro, Endure. Maybe we should do the Endure deck. I haven't looked at a matchup table for this in a while, so let's take a look at the matchups. Something wrong here. This is not working. I think target decks with Hush that play a lot of Hushes are pretty good against this. You need to be able to block Fearsome though, is the problem. This Wraithcaller here. Ravenous Butcher, Bark Beast, very aggressive early. This is not going to be a thing. Let's go back to all stats. Masters, archetypes. Matches most played. We'll go down. Raka, Nox Ezreal. We already went over Nox Ezreal, right? Let's see if anything's different between the Draven list and the Nox Ezreal, because there is going to be notable differences between the two decks. Like, both don't play like Xanite Urchin and stuff, but I think the Draven Ezreal probably relies on the Captain Farron more for closing, since there's no Leviathan or Swain to really get it going. You see Tri-Beam here. You have 2 3-mana champions, so Tri-Beam's pretty sweet. Scorched Earth, Cullen Strike. Everything you pretty much expect from a Nox Ezreal deck. Pretty high win rate here too. This 217 matches, 2,000 matches, 56%. This deck has become real popular in the last couple days. Let's take a look at the matchups on it. See if it's different than what we have typed here. Nox Ezreal, Endure, Ramp, Fearsome. Ramp, Endure, / Fearsome. This list is a lot worse against the Go Hard list, though. That's one thing I'm noticing here. Because Swain is good against the Go Hard deck, I think. So, yeah, bad matchups. What is this? Turbo Deep? Turbo Deep. We'll do Nox Swain as. And then we'll do the other Swain deck. I mean the other best decks. Draven as. Okay. And this is gonna be similar. Ramp. Endure. I think this might be better though, because your Draven can block Fearsome, so Turbo Deep. And what else? Go Hard. All right, sweet. So if we just took these top 5 decks, most played, we need one more deck though. Also, do note that these decks all have no overlapping champions. Like discard aggro, you can't play with Draven Ezreal for sure, but you can like Swain Ezreal with discard aggro with TF Elise or whatever. So you can play like these 3 decks, which are very popular decks. Of course, if you play Tom Raka, those champs aren't played in any other decks. Competitive decks anyway, so you don't have to worry about that as much. Go back to all stats. See if we can find a 5th deck. Mid-range Frostbite. It's a lot of matches. Let's just do the last 3 days though. Last 3 days, that's a lot of matches too. If you look at the last 3 days compared to current patch, it's like a 1/7 of the games played. This is a lot of games played with this deck. Alright, Cedro, Tom Raka, Deep. Deep deck getting some play. But what are they saying for deep? Let's look at what they're saying for deep. I think deep is kind of hard to go off of metastats, honestly. Because if you go to matchups here, what does this mulligan tab do? Nothing. These are just a bunch of different decks with different win rates. Play rate. The most winningest version here, 58% over 257 matches. It's pretty good. What's this version about? Slaughter Docs. Playing Hard Gun and Toad. Helps out against aggro if you play the Hard Gun. Dead Bloom, Jewel Hunters, Thistle Eye, Devourer, Shipwreck Quarter, Withering Whale, Salvage. Jettison does play the Ball Feast. 2 Salvage. 3 Whale. So nothing crazy, like no Lure the Depths. Because, you know, that's a list that I've been playing. Lure the Depths, but this is pretty good. 2 Salvage. Not bad. You know, helping out more in the aggro matchup with the Hard Gun. And then, of course, 3 Whale, 3 Ball Feast. Yeah, this list looks pretty good. See if they'll give us a matchup table here. They won't. Okay, matchups. Nope. Overview. Okay. Don't want this overlay. Let's go back. We didn't get much out of this. Yeah, let's skip deep. I feel like deep's worst matchups are like aggro decks. Pretty difficult. It's kind of hard to play aggro though with this Go Hard. You can do Fearsome aggro, which is also good against deep because it doesn't block Fearsome well without Dead Bloom Wonder. BWSI, Go Hard. We already did that. Maybe we could do Ash Sejuani or Pirate aggro. Pirate aggro is pretty popular. Was once pretty popular. Now we're looking at it here. See the win rate here. 55. Let's go current patch, Pirate aggro, right? 56.1. But in the last 3 days, the win rate has gone down. This deck is quite strong though. I don't think you want to play Might in the deck though. They got Fervor. That's the only thing you can get with Zap Spray Fin. So Zap is another Fervor pretty much every time. This is one of the most common lists, honestly. 2 Farron up top to close. Pirate aggro. Best matchup, Trundle. Worst matchup, Nightfall. Interesting. Maybe we should talk about Pirate aggro. We should put Pirate aggro on the list. Pirate aggro. Okay, so now we'll look at this. Look at matchups. Nightfall. Pirate aggro doesn't do well against Jinx Draven either. Discard aggro. That makes a lot of sense. Gets on the board pretty fast. Fjordshin. Is that right? Fjordshin. Interesting. Fearsomes. Yeah, anything less than 40% is what we want to look at because we want to just be 10% favorites in all the games we play. Is the whole idea. Fearsome aggro. Fearsome. Yeah. Okay. And that makes sense. Fearsome aggro deck's good. So now that we have all this compiled, okay, we have the slight differences between these two. Endure, Ramp, Fearsome. Endure, Ramp, TF, Go Hard. Let's go back to the Swain Edgewell deck and see what they're showing stats for on that as well. Swain Edgewell. Yeah, right here. Let's see the matchups on this. Because what is it saying about the Go Hard deck? It is right here, but it's 45, you see. So it's less unfavorable if you play Swain instead of Draven, which makes sense. Because you got a better end game. Like Leviathan commands a Vengeance. Things like that. So, yeah, what is this? Buy deck. Funsmith. What is that even? Ezreal Elise. Only 54 matches. This is a crazy deck. 2 Karina, 2 Ladress, 2 Skitter, 2 Hapless. This is a lot of units for a Karina deck. I guess there's Go Hard there to make Karina work as well. Karina control with Elise. No Brood Awakening. Elise is a really good champ right now. Giving you access to Glimpse Beyond and stuff like that. Soften their units up. People want to block Elise. They just do. So, yeah. Yeah. Alright, so now if we go back to it all, now that we have like an idea of what the meta is like, we want to find the decks that have sorry if this call is going too long, but we got to get into it. Google Sheets. All right, so let's tally them up. Where we at? Ramp, Tom, Pearson, Anivia, Shiv, Ramp. There I got Ramp. TF, Go Hard. Maybe just put Noxez. Because that'll cover both. Noxez, Spooky Karma. And Dur. We already got Ramp. Got Fearsome already? Yeah. Ramp, Fearsome, Turbo Deep. Ash Sedge. Ash Sedge. Discard aggro. So many decks. That's what I love about this game. Nightfall. Shin. Alright, so we'll just add them up here. How many instances of Ramp here? 1, 2, 3. We should probably put these together, honestly. Endure, Ramp, Fearsome. Endure, Ramp, Turbo Deep. We just can delete this here. Right? We'll put Fearsome here. Okay, so we'll just throw those together for the sake of time here. So let's do Ramp. Ramp, 1, 2, 3. 3 instances of Ramp. So we'll do 3 here. Tom Rocca, 1. Doesn't do well against a lot of the decks, top decks of the format. It's better against the outliers for sure. I want to go back and actually see the upside of playing Tom Rocca. Let's go all stats here. Your type's Tom Rocca. Best matchup, Spooky Karma. Spooky Karma Ezreal. What is this? Another Ezreal deck. Good against it. This deck makes sense. What else you got here? Braum and Ivia. Whatever that means. Yeah, it's going to be good against these Ezreal Shadow Wall decks. For sure. Yasuo Leona. I think this deck might be depressed, honestly, in the current meta. Tom Rocca, but I think it's very powerful, especially in a tournament format where you get a ban. So you could ban your worst matchup, honestly. What else is bad against? Fearsomes. I mean, it's good against, what is this, Endure? It's probably good against Endure. Endure doesn't have that many fearsome units. Gotta go back to this. because something's wrong with the Endure page. It's bugged. Good against, yeah, Zed, Lee Zed. Swain TF, good against that. Good against Anivia. Swain TF, yep. Good against Go Hard. Good against Go Hard. That's a big reason to play the deck, honestly. Because if you don't have to ban the Go Hard deck, you can let it through. That's pretty good. We could do that on the other side of things. Okay, so that's a good reason to play the deck. If you were Shen as well. Playing multiple Hushes makes sense. I don't know what this is. A Demacia deep deck? Sorry, y'all. I'm intrigued. Nope. Not there. Okay. What else? What is it? Yeah, some Demacia deep deck, whatever. We want to sort this by matches played, right? Can we do that? Can't do that. Okay. It automatically sorts by win rate. Huh, interesting. Regular Demacia in general. I think it's pretty good against Demacia. If you were Shen, yeah, definitely. With the Hushes, it's good against a lot of the counters to the meta. I think we'll revisit this later, but I just wanted to check. The biggest draw to play in Tom Rock is because it's good against the Go Hard deck, which is like the #1 deck. So probably not the most popular online. It says that there's a lot of matches played, but pretty even with ramp, as I expected. I'm glad these stats are kind of bearing out. Could maybe sort by masters? No, it doesn't work. Okay. So yeah, so that answered my question there. And then we need to open up our notepad file again. Get back to work. Back to work, baby! Okay, so then Tom Rocca. 1. Okay. So that's going to be an outside deck. I do think the deck has more potential than what is shown here. Fearsome. Fearsome's all over the place. 1, 2, 3, 4. Fearsome's just one of the best decks. Fearsome. 4 on the Fearsome deck. Anivia. 1, 2, 2. Let's discard aggro and go hard, yeah. 2. We could target a deck. We'll get into that in a second. Shiv. We're just trying to get an overall. Shiv, there's 2 Shivs here, right? Shiv, yeah, 2. TF go hard. TF go hard. This is also going to inform us a lot on what our bans are. TF go hard. 1, 2. Not good against Pirate aggro. I could see it. 1, 2. I think it would be better, but it doesn't close fast enough. I don't think the decimates are a problem. 2 on TF go hard. Knocks Ezreal. 1, 2, 2. Endure. Endure's in here once, right? Really good against Draven Ezreal. Knocks Ezreal, yeah, it's trouble with Endure for sure. Turbo Deep. Once, right? Also good against Ezreal Draven. Ash Sedge. It's definitely good against Raka. That's 1. I don't think it's that good against the Fearsome decks though. Because Harrowing is just so good against Ash Sedge. Unless they hit a Reckoning behind the Harrowing. But there's got to be a Reckoning in the middle of the game, I'm sure. Ramp, Raka. Yeah, it's not there. It's just not there. Just a 1 on that. Discard aggro. 1, 2, 2. Nightfall 1. Fjordshin 1. Okay, so if we look at this, Fjordshin is really good against ramp too. We could even add ramp to this. Let's take a look at that. Overview, all stats. That's what we want, all stats. Is that ramp deck here? Later stall. I guess that's one way to put it. This is the deck. Yeah, Catalyst, Stones, Later stall. Still here. Let's see what matchup for this. Matchup table. It's really bad against this Trundle. Whatever this Demacia deep deck is, I'd love to know. Lucian Zed, that makes a lot of sense, actually. Next versus Ramp. Now, I don't think Ramp's got a lion's share of the meta right now, but if people get an eye on these stats, be foolish not to engage with a Ramp deck of some kind. What we're going to put on here? Lucian Zed. I don't know what that Champless deck is. Yasuo. Turbo Deep. Lee Zed, that's a 40%er. Fjordshin, for sure, right? Fjordshin. Yep. Those are like pretty much it. Fjordshin. I mean, you can put Yasuo in there, but I'm not recognizing Yasuo as a real deck. It's coming from somebody who played it in a fight night, so yeah, this is probably like maybe Spooky Karma. Yeah, the Lee Zed deck though, like this deck's kind of out of the meta. I don't think it's that bad though. It's you know, got favorables over this way. Swain TF, TF Ezreal. You don't see much TF Ezreal anyway. Whatever this Braum Nivea deck is. It's good against the Go Hard deck, it's saying. It's going good against the Go Hard deck. Could be good to play. I believe it with Nopify. Nopify is good. I could totally see it. Glimpse is good at countering the combo though. And like you can get swarmed as the Lee Zed. I've won the matchup. There's also Vengeance and Ruination that require denies. But that just might be the way to go. Good against Dragon Shyvana. Good against Nightfall aggro. Interesting. I'm wondering about these stats. Is it really doing well against Nightfall aggro? It says 114 games. What is Draven Teemo? Is this just like burn? It's gotta be what? Teemo, Draven, and Jinx. Okay, so just playing a Teemo with the Draven. So it's discard aggro still. Interesting. What do they say about that? Just to see if that's different. The stats should be the same. Discard aggro. Ramp. Go Hard. Where's the Go Hard deck? It's not here. Unless it's this deck, which Doesn't have a champion here, so could be a problem. Turbo Deep. Yeah, all in all, that's close to the same, right? Anivia Control. I don't see any Anivia here. This is Anivia right here. Okay, yeah, Anivia Control. Makes sense. Nox Ezreal. Where's Ezreal at on here? Ezreal Karma. Doesn't say anything about Nox Ezreal though. Some Yasuo deck. I'd love to know what this deck is. What deck is playing Demacia with Nautilus? We'll never know. Oh, they just had the wrong marker on there, it looks like. This is a Shadow Walls deck. Twisted Fate Nautilus, yeah. Just a regular deep deck? Is it even possible? I don't think deep's that favored against Draven aggro. What else we got here? I want to see what's up with this Turbo Deep deck while I'm looking here. I think deep is going to be good, honestly. And maybe like Twisted Fate could be good over Maokai. Yeah, here we go. What is this? Matchups for Lee Targan. Like, how does it have a 40% against the mirror? It doesn't even make any sense. I've been seeing Karma Lee on the ladder a good bit. This says that it's got a good, yeah. Interesting. I want to see what they say about Yasuo. Matchups. Who want Yasuo to work? These are the worst matchups. What's the best matchups? TF Swain, TF Ezreal. This is a Nivea deck. It's like somebody played these decks and just got a bunch of losses. Let's see, is it? They got it sorted for Masters. They don't. This is the Go Hard deck. So it does well against Go Hard. And it goes as well against the Dragon deck in the mid range. That makes sense. What else? Swain Ezreal does well against that. I just don't think that this deck does well against aggro at all. Look, aggro, bad matchup. Mirror match, bad matchup. Yeah, see, that's why these stats are so unreliable. I mean, come on. How you got a mirror match and this is the percent that it's going? Doesn't make any sense. A mirror match should be 50% because it's against itself. Ace Soul Ramp. Calm at the Rush. Turbo Deep. It says it's got an unfavorable matchup here against this Lee Zed deck. But then when you click on the Lee Zed deck, look at this. This is flawed. That's why you always got to like look at these stats and then also think about the games that you played with the decks or that you can theory craft. Look at the matchups here on Lee Targan. Worst matchups. Look, check it out. Swain. I think I will have to tweet them. But anyway, working off the stats that we got now, we look at this. We look at this chart. Okay. We just do it just like this. We could add 1 for Spooky Karma. Did we put Spooky Karma up here? I didn't put Spooky Karma up here. Another 1 for Fiora Shin. Another one for Turbo Deep. Spooky Karma. Spooky Karma's got 2 now. So we're not gonna put Yasuo on the board or Lucian Zed. So yeah, we're looking at this. So Ramp seems to do the best against the top decks with, well, Fearsome. So like we want Fearsome in a lineup. Our lineup should look like potential lineup versus top of field. Day 2. Yeah, so we just look at it like this. It's like we want to play Fearsome in that lineup because it lines up the best against the top decks, right? So we'll do that. Fearsome, Ramp, some kind of Ramp. And then, does anything else have a 3? No. There's 4 and there's 3, and then the rest is all 2s. So we want a deck that doesn't have that bad of a matchup against this top of the field here. You know, your third deck would have to be good against the top of the field here. You can't do the same region combination, but you can do like, so if you do a Ramp, like Shadow Owl's Ramp, you can't also play Endure. It's important to note. So you do Ramp, Fearsome, and then something else. You can do TF Go Hard if you want. Because it's just, you know, the best against a lot of decks. If you play a Nivea control, you also can't play Ramp. But I think Fearsomes plus a Nivea. I've been really impressed with the Nivea lately. Pretty good. And then that way you get a fleshed out lineup that is going to be hard for them to ban off. So you do Fearsome, Ramp, and then if you're going to do this, where you have Fearsome and Ramp, you probably should play another deck that is like either aggressive or mid-range, or uses Fearsome units as well. That way they can't ban out Fearsome entirely. And then you can strand a Soraka deck. Ramp is, you know, best against what? You basically don't want anything that... You want to find out what you want to target, okay? So, like, Ramp is already going to be good against the... real good against the Go Hard deck. Ramp is just really good against the Go Hard deck. So if we start with that premise there, Fearsome also being good against that, we should find another deck that's good against the Go Hard deck. So, and then that way we just let that through and not have to ban it while also hedging. So then we circle back. If we look at, this should be bigger. Let's make full screen this. All right, so if we look at it this way, you have the Go Hard deck. This is going to be good against Go Hard. Fearsome's going to be good against Go Hard. Another Harrowing deck, any Harrowing deck is going to be good against Go Hard. We can't play at Nivea control. It's possible we can play Shiv mid-range. That's possible. But what we want to really do is, and you could do Tom Raka, but we're going to want to let this deck through, okay? So we want to find shared weaknesses between Ramp and Fearsome. This is exactly how you find your third deck. This is the best way to do it. Ramp and Fearsome. Did we not do Fearsome here? We didn't even put Fearsome on the list here. Best decks versus Fearsome. Okay, great. Let's do that. This is what we need to do. All stats. Back to it, y'all. Current patch is a lot of work, y'all. A lot of work, but the work has to be done. Last 3 days. Americas. Where's the Fearsome decks at? No, the Fearsome decks are up here. Aggro Endure. Karma Thresh. Shyvana Asol. Oh, we want Masters, right? Narrow down even more. Nivea. I really like Endure, but we can't use this region combination with a ramp deck or Nivea control, so you're kind of stuck, honestly. I think Endure's not bad against the TF deck either, the Go Hard deck. So if we look at it, let's just spread it out a little bit more. So maybe we do about win rate. There it is. Callista Elise. And this could either be, you could go Noxious with it. This is a little bit, makes a little more sense. Shadow Isles, you know, it either needs to be Noxious or Target, I think. And the whole purpose of this is that it is a fearsome deck, and it doesn't use Freljord to go with the Shadow Isles, and it doesn't use Balage Water to go with the Shadow Isles. So it does open us up quite a bit. Fearsome, and then ramp to find a third deck. And you could change it into Noxious if the region combination is a problem. So we'll use this as the fearsome. Let's look at matchups here. This is not what we're getting. They're not giving us any Callista matchups. Size of target. Decks have got a pretty good win rate. Fearsome burn. Okay, well, this it's got more burn to it. Decimate, less units. You see, more burn, less units. Maybe they got matchups here. They do. Okay, it's weakest against Fjordshin, Spooky Karma, Nivea Control. These are decks with heals. Ramp decks, heals. You know, discard aggro. It's a slight dog. Not that bad though. Other fearsomes, slight dog. Right. Go hard, not that favorable. So if we're gonna let through a deck, we probably don't want to go with this fearsome deck. It says, I thought we said the fearsomes was good, but this is burn. And the burn is not going to be as good against like this reach right here. Probably not going to be the most insane. Like, because you're playing Precious Pet and Saboteur, like if they go hard that thing, it'll take a lot of wind out of the sails of this deck. You want like Mishwraith version. Whenever we say fearsomes, this is fearsome burn. Can we please get a matchup table for this? I can't get it. Okay. Pretty high win rate for that one list, almost 60%. It's pretty high. Play rate 72%. This list more than other lists, 49. 782 matches. These are the same decks. It's a lot of matches with this deck. I like this Mark of the Isles too. Impel Cascade. There's two really good tricks. And you got Harrowing to finish. Like, this is the fearsome deck. So not bad. Not bad. Doom Beast. Wraithcaller. Fearsome deck. It's going to be good against Go Hard. This deck will be. You got Mark of the Isles too, which is good. So we do that fearsome and ramp, and we're going to be looking to target the Go Hard deck. We're going to want to find a third deck that's good against the Go Hard deck to let it through. It can't be a Nivea Control. It can possibly be Raka or Shyvana. That's what we're looking at mostly. So we can't get a matchup table for the fearsome deck. I guess we can use. I just don't want to use the. It seems like it would be a waste of time to use this burn because it is different. Like, these one drops are different, which skew the matchup tables. Like, if you look at this Go Hard deck's gonna be a lot better against this than a normal fearsome deck because of the one drops being one toughness. It's just soft. Soft. Those one drops are soft. What else is there? Fjordshin is bad. I can see that for a lot of fearsome decks because they also play Deny for Harrowing, so Fearsome ramp. Yeah, best decks versus Fearsome. Let's just go ahead and put Fjordshin. Fjordshin, Anivia Control. And Trundle ramp. Is that even possible? Ramp. Not by much. Shadow Isles, Freljord. Yeah. Alright, so now getting back on track here, so now we have the Fearsome matchup table. So if we just work off of this here, now we have, you know, Navy Control gets another one. We can, and then so does Fjordshin. 3 on Fjordshin, Anivia 3. So then we could do a little workaround here where we can possibly play like Anivia, Fjordshin, and Fearsome. I think Fearsome should definitely be in the lineup because it hits the most of the decks, at least for a day 2 meta. You know, the top decks. Fearsome's going to give you a good shot. You're still going to have to win the games. So we can do Fearsome, Ramp, or Anivia. These are both fine. And then if we look at the Ramp deck, it's weak to Yasuo, whatever, Spooky Karma, whatever, Fjordshin, Turbo Deep. And that makes me wonder if Fjordshin is just good right now. Doesn't seem to be that great against the Go Hard deck. But it calls into question here because we got it good against a lot of these decks. But it might be bad against the rest of them. Like, if it could be real bad against the rest of them, it would be bad. You know, too lopsided, honestly. Because Ramp's not really getting worked by any of these decks too hard. Yeah, sure, they can all beat them, and maybe some are, you know, favored, obviously, but for the most part, gotta play Fearsome, play Ramp or Anivia. And then the third deck, you can play the Go Hard deck just for like quality deck. Here's the thing, I'm thinking that you want to play another deck with Fearsomes in it, or that focuses on Fearsome. Like, you have Fearsome here, but you can possibly even play Endure with the Fearsome because there's you know, some similar gameplay there. You just have to change what champs you play. Because if you play the Targon one, it's playing Callista and Elise, and that's a problem for the Endure version. And I think I've been seeing people on ladder playing different crazy stuff, like they who Endure with Hecarim. You know, like just straight Hecarim. Which is pretty interesting, because like you still get that Endure top end against the matchups that are weak against Endure. Because you're going to get it the same way, and you still get Harrowing. And you can play Ephemerals. And you can do that without having the champ problem. But you could just as soon play Ramp or Anivia. And I think Ramp or Anivia would be a good pick there. So finding our third deck's the hardest part here. So if we come Fearsome and Ramp, we want to find a deck that shares a weakness, okay, with the Ramp deck. So, and the Fearsome deck. So if we look at Ramp and we look at Fearsome, what's it weak against? Fjordshin. You see? So our third deck should also be a deck that's weak to Fjordshin or any of the double overlap. You see, that would make the most sense, honestly. So in this spot, it'd probably be, you know, even you know, Lucian Zeds here. These low to ground Demacia decks are just going to be good against both of these decks. So we would need to find another deck. Where's the other tick on Fjordshin at? Fjordshin had 3. Pirate aggro. Okay. So what if we play Pirate Aggregator? Does it overlap any other ones? No. Discard. Nightfall. It's good against discard, both these decks. Right? Discard aggro. Yeah, we have ramp and we have the noxious. Ramp and Anivia control, or doesn't really say anything about fearsome here. So, but yeah, we can. We want another deck this week, the Fiora Shin, so we can just ban that. We need to find something that shared ban here for these two decks, or something close to it. I think maybe if you look at this Shyvana mid-range deck, right? We can easily play the TF Go Hard here. What do you have here? Weak against ramp. Weak against, obviously you could ban ramp, and the ramp's good against your fearsome. So that could be an overlap here. Like if you play the Go Hard deck, that's probably the lineup. Go Hard. And what this does, this is a good lineup. This is what I would come up with right here. Fearsome, ramp, plus TF Go Hard. Shadow Isle is just king of the hill here. You come with a triple Shadow Isles lineup. Okay, so all the matchups that are good for Shadow Isles are going to be good. The Demacia decks that have good protection against small damage-based removal would be the focus ban for whether you play Anivia or ramp, right? And then also, like, Demacia can keep up with fearsomes, right? Fiora Shin, aggressive decks like that. So I think you just go to ban Demacia, as crazy as that sounds. Because Go Hard is weakest against, or ramp, because ramp's also good against fearsome. So if they have a ramp in a lineup, that gives you easy ban. And then at worst, you'll get a Go Hard mirror match. So with this, I would probably gear the Go Hard deck to be better in the mirror. And nobody would know that because there's not open deck list. And this would be like one of the better lineups for a day two, I think. Yeah, overall. And this is what we came up with. This is how it happened. Now you can play some oddball stuff too, but this is going to be the best. If the tournament was this weekend, this is exactly the lineup I would play. I would play Fearsome, and I would play either Ramp or Anivia, whichever I'm more comfortable with. And then I would play Go Hard, with a focus to ban the aggressive Demacia deck, the Fiora Shin deck, right? Depending on if I played Ramp or Anivia, because Anivia is a little better against Fiora Shin. Do it like that. Yeah. Wow. That was a lot of work. But we nailed it. So, yeah. I hope you enjoyed the process. This is exactly how you want to do it if you want to beat the top decks in a tournament. You want to focus on the top decks in the tournament. You do have to think on your feet a little bit because you'll get paired. You do have a whole minute to do the ban and the ban phase. So you get a chance to think about it. We'll talk about some more strategies on Tuesday. We're not going to reassess the whole meta, but we'll theorycraft some lineups next week as well. And I hope everybody has a great weekend. One love, good vibes, everybody. See you later.